The snow fell like tiny daggers that afternoon, each flake a reminder that winter didn't care who you were or what you were going through. Troy Henderson's laughter echoed across the empty parking lot as he dangled the car keys above Emily's reaching hand. "What's wrong, princess?" "Can't catch." His breath formed clouds in the freezing air as his buddies circled around them like wolves. "Troy, please. The storm's getting worse." Emily's voice trembled, not from fear, but from the cold seeping through her thin, cheerleading uniform. "Should have thought about that before you turned me down for homecoming." With a flick of his wrist, Troy hurled the keys into a snowdrift 20 yards away. Good luck finding those. He and his crew piled into his BMW, tires spitting slush as they roared away, leaving Emily alone at the school's back gate, the one nobody used anymore. She was still standing there, arms wrapped around herself, mascara frozen in black streaks down her cheeks, when a shadow appeared through the whiteout. "You okay?" Emily looked up to see Lucas Reed, that quiet kid from her English class, the one everyone pretended didn't exist. He was skinny, almost fragile-looking, wearing a faded jacket that had seen better years. "I'm fine," she lied through chattering teeth. "Just waiting for." "You're turning blue." Lucas didn't hesitate. His hands moved to his jacket zipper. "What are you doing?" He pulled off the only coat he owned, the last thing his mother had given him before cancer took her, and draped it over Emily's shoulders. The fabric still held his body heat. "No, I can't. You'll freeze." Emily tried to push it back, but Lucas was already stepping away, his thin t-shirt already soaked through. "I live close by." "You don't." The lie came easy. He didn't tell her about the abandoned auto shop 5 miles away where he'd been squatting for 3 months. Didn't mention that this jacket was the difference between maybe surviving the walk home and definitely not making it. "Wait, at least tell me your name." Emily called after him, but Lucas had already disappeared into the storm, a ghost in his own life, walking toward what he didn't know would be his final steps in the cold. Lucas Reed had perfected the art of being nobody. He sat in the back corner of every classroom, never raised his hand, never made eye contact. At Riverside High, invisibility was survival. The rich kids didn't bully what they couldn't see, and Lucas had gotten very good at fading into the beige walls and scratched desks. "Yo, Sparrow." The nickname, cruel in its accuracy, suggesting something small and expendable, came from Derek Chun, Troy's right-hand asshole. Still wearing that homeless shelter special? Lucas kept his eyes on his notebook, where he was supposed to be taking notes on the Great Gatsby, but was actually calculating if he had enough for both the electric bill at the shop and food this week. The math wasn't working out. "I'm talking to you, street rat." A wadded-up piece of paper hit the back of Lucas's head. He didn't react. Reacting was engagement, and engagement led to attention, and attention led to problems. He'd learned that the hard way during his first week after moving to Riverside, when he'd made the mistake of defending himself. Troy had made sure everyone knew exactly where Lucas stood in the social hierarchy, somewhere below the lunch ladies, but above the actual rats in the biology lab. Mrs. Patterson droned on about symbolism while Lucas's stomach growled. The free lunch program had saved his life, literally. 2 meals a day at school meant he could stretch his dishwashing wages further, maybe even save enough to fix the broken heater before winter really hit. The jacket, his mother's final gift, bought 3 sizes too big so he'd grow into it, hung on the back of his chair. It was patched at both elbows with different colored fabric. The zipper stuck halfway, but it was warm. It was memory. It was home. The dismissal bell rang. Lucas was always the first one out, moving through the hallways like water around stones, never quite touching anyone. He had 4 hours before his shift at Big Mike's Diner started, which meant 4 hours to maybe catch some sleep in the shop's office, where the broken couch was at least softer than the concrete floor. Lucas Reed. He froze. Adults who knew his name meant social workers, meant questions, meant the system trying to help in ways that always made things worse. But it was just Mr. Harrison, the guidance counselor, holding a slip of paper. "Your boss called. Says the pipes burst at the diner. No work tonight." The news hit harder than any punch from Troy. No work meant no money. No money meant no food tomorrow. "Thanks." Lucas took the note, crumpled it, and kept walking. The parking lot was already clearing out, expensive cars peeling away in expensive hurry. The weather report that morning had warned about the storm, a nor'easter pushing down from Canada, expected to dump 2 feet of snow and bring temperatures down to -10. Lucas pulled his jacket tighter, checking that the zipper still worked. The coat was more than fabric and stuffing. It was his mother's voice saying, "I love you," during her last good week. It was her hands, already too thin, threading the needle to patch the elbow when he'd torn it climbing the fence at their old apartment. It was every sacrifice she'd made working double shifts so he could have new school supplies, right up until the day she couldn't work anymore. He started the long walk home, if you could call an abandoned auto shop home. The snow had already started, light flurries that caught in his dark hair and melted against his skin. Lucas didn't notice Emily Stone watching from the school's front steps, waiting for her father's club to pick her up. Didn't see the way her eyes followed him, curious about the boy who sat alone at lunch, who never spoke unless called on, who wore the same 3 shirts in rotation. He was already thinking about the walk ahead, about whether the sleeping bag would be enough without the space heater, about how many crackers he had left in his backpack. The snow was falling harder now. Emily Stone had been lying to her father for 2 years. She'd begged him to let her go to regular school, to have a normal teenage life, to not be the biker princess who showed up with a motorcycle escort. Silas Grave Stone, president of the Iron Reapers MC, feared across 3 states, a man whose word was law among outlaws, had one weakness, his daughter. So he'd agreed. Private school education, sure, but a normal social life. No patches, no clubhouse, no leather. Just Emily, regular girl, captain of the JV cheer squad. She'd been careful, never mentioned her last name, never let anyone see her get picked up. The club usually sent a prospect in a normal car to collect her from the gas station 2 blocks away. But today, the prospect was late. And Troy Henderson, captain of the football team and owner of Daddy's 3rd BMW, had offered her a ride. She should have said no. So, homecoming's in 2 weeks, Troy said, one hand on the wheel, the other creeping toward her knee. They were supposed to be heading to her aunt's house, actually the safe location where the prospect would meet her. "I'm not really into school dances," Emily said, shifting away from his hand. "Come on. We'd be like royalty. Football captain and cheer captain? That's power couple material." "I said no, Troy." His jaw tightened. The BMW slowed. They weren't heading toward her pickup spot anymore. Emily's internal alarms started screaming, the ones her father had installed through years of teaching her to read danger, to trust her instincts, to never let anyone corner her. "Where are you going?" "This isn't." "Relax. Just wanted to talk somewhere private." Troy pulled into the school's back parking lot, the one they used for overflow during games. Empty now? Isolated. Emily's phone was in her hand before the car stopped. Troy noticed. "Who you calling?" "Daddy." He laughed. "What's he gonna do? He's probably some accountant, right? Gonna calculate me to death." If only you knew, Emily thought, but kept her mouth shut. One text to her father and 50 bikers would descend on this parking lot like the wrath of God. But she didn't want that. Didn't want to be rescued like some damsel, didn't want to blow her cover, didn't want to be Graves' daughter, instead of just Emily. "I just want to go home, Troy. We're just talking." But his hand was on her phone now, pulling it away. "You embarrassed me in front of the whole cafeteria yesterday. Laughed at me when I asked you out." "I didn't laugh." "Yes, you did. You and your little friend Sarah, giggling like I was some kind of joke." The snow was really coming down now, fat flakes that stuck to the windshield. The temperature was dropping fast. Emily could see her breath inside the car. "I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings, but I need to leave. Now." Troy pocketed her phone. Smiled. Not a nice smile. "You know what? Yeah, you should go." In fact, he reached across her, opened her door. The Arctic wind blasted in. "Why don't you walk?" "Troy, don't be stupid. It's a blizzard. You don't want to be seen with me? Fine. Walk." Emily stared at him in disbelief. This wasn't happening. People didn't actually do this outside of bad movies. "My phone." "Oops." Troy dangled her iPhone out his window, then tossed it into a snowbank. Butterfingers. Then he reached across her again, this time grabbing her purse, her car keys, everything. Before Emily could process what was happening, he'd thrown them all into the snow, scattered in different directions. "Good luck, princess." He gunned the engine, and Emily had to jump back to avoid the door slamming into her. The BMW fishtailed away, red taillights disappearing into the white. She stood there in her cheerleading uniform, designed for school spirit, not survival. watching her breath turn to ice. The parking lot was empty. The school locked at 4. Her phone was somewhere in the growing drifts. Her keys were gone. The nearest gas station was 2 miles away, and she was wearing a skirt and a shell top. The cold hit her like a physical thing. Her legs went numb first, bare from mid-thigh down except for thin tights. Her arms erupted in goosebumps that felt like they might be permanent. Emily had been trained for a lot of scenarios. Her father had taught her how to spot a tail, how to read a room for threats, how to throw a punch that would break a nose. But he'd never taught her what to do when you're stuck in a blizzard in a cheerleading uniform, because some entitled asshole decided rejection deserved punishment. She tried to find her phone, digging through the snow with hands that were already losing feeling. Nothing. The wind was picking up, howling through the empty lot like something alive and hungry. Emily had never been religious, but she started praying. Not for rescue. She was Graves' daughter. She didn't get rescued. But for the prospect to realize she was late. For her father to call the school. For something, anything, because she could feel the cold seeping into her bones, making her thoughts slow and fuzzy. Her lips were going numb. That was bad, right? That meant something bad. Hypothermia? Frostbite. The cheerleading coach had covered this once, but Emily's brain felt like it was wading through honey, everything slow and confused. She didn't remember sitting down, but suddenly she was on the ground, arms wrapped around her knees, shivering so hard her teeth hurt. This was how people died, she realized. Not dramatically, not in a fight or a blaze of glory. Just slowly, stupidly, because they'd trusted the wrong person and worn the wrong clothes. The snow was beautiful, though. Peaceful. Maybe if she just closed her eyes for a minute. Hey, you okay? Emily looked up through frozen eyelashes. A figure stood over her, backlit by the gray sky. For a second, she thought it was an angel. That would be ironic. Graves' daughter, dying and going to heaven. But angels probably didn't wear patch jackets and look half-frozen themselves. It was Lucas Reed, the quiet kid from English class. The invisible boy. He'd never looked more real. Lucas had taken the long route past the school specifically to avoid Troy and his crew. They usually left by the front entrance, and he'd learned to time his departures to minimize contact. But the backlot shortcut would save him 10 minutes, and with the storm getting worse, 10 minutes might matter. He almost didn't see her. Emily Stone was curled up against the chain-link fence, her cheerleading uniform already dusted with snow, her skin an alarming shade of blue-white. For a second, Lucas thought it was a mannequin, some weird prank. Nobody would actually leave a person out here. Then she moved, a weak shiver that told him she was still alive. Barely. Hey, you okay? Stupid question. She was obviously not okay. Emily's eyes focused on him slowly, like she was looking at him from very far away. CC can't find my PH phone. Lucas dropped his backpack and crouched beside her. His EMT training, 2 summers volunteering at the community center before his life fell apart, kicked in. Check for consciousness. Yes, but altered. Check for breathing, rapid and shallow. Check for color, cyanotic. This was bad. This was really bad. What happened? Where's your coat? Troy took my keys. Emily's words were slurring. Had to teach me a L lesson. White-hot rage flashed through Lucas. Troy Henderson had done this. Had left her here like garbage because his ego couldn't handle rejection. Lucas filed that information away for later, when his hands weren't shaking from the cold. Can you stand? He helped Emily to her feet, but she could barely support her own weight. The nearest shelter was the old groundskeeper's shed, but it was locked. The school was locked. His home was 5 miles away. The bus stop. There was a covered bus stop 2 blocks west. Not much, but better than this. Come on. We're going to walk, okay? Keep you moving. He wrapped his arm around Emily's waist, supporting most of her weight. She leaned into him heavily. They made it maybe 10 feet before Lucas realized this wasn't going to work. Emily was shutting down, her body temperature too low. She needed warmth. Now, he looked down at his jacket, his mother's jacket, the only thing between him and the storm. The math was simple, really. Emily was smaller, already hypothermic. The cold had a head start on her. Lucas was bigger, had more body mass, had been poor and hungry and cold enough times that his body knew how to ration warmth. He could make it to the bus stop without the jacket. Maybe. Probably not. But definitely yes, if the alternative was watching this girl die in a parking lot because some rich asshole had a tantrum. Here. Lucas stopped, shrugged out of his jacket. What are you doing? Emily's eyes widened. No, I'm fine. I live close by. The lie came easily, a skill he perfected. You need this more than me. The jacket was still warm from his body when he draped it over Emily's shoulders. It swallowed her small frame, the sleeves hanging past her hands. She pulled it tight around herself instinctively, and Lucas saw some color return to her lips. He was already cold. The t-shirt he wore underneath, one of 3 he owned, this one with a faded band logo from a concert he'd never attended, was no match for the wind. It cut through the thin cotton like the fabric wasn't even there. Lucas, Emily was looking at him with something like horror. Your jacket. You need your jacket. Already told you, I'm good. He steered her toward the bus stop, moving fast now, partially to keep her circulation going, partially because if he slowed down he might start shaking and never stop. What's your dad's number? I'll call him from the payphone. Emily rattled off the number, teeth still chattering, but not as violently. The jacket was working. They reached the bus stop, a pathetic plastic shell that barely blocked the wind, and Lucas deposited Emily on the bench. She immediately curled into a ball, the jacket pulled up to her chin. Don't fall asleep, Lucas warned, his own voice starting to shake. Just stay awake until your dad gets here. The payphone, one of maybe 3 left in the whole city, ate his quarter. He dialed the number Emily had given him. 1 ring. 2 rings. Yeah. The voice that answered was gravel and gunpowder, the kind of voice that made you sit up straight, even over the phone. Hi. This is Lucas Reed. I'm calling about your daughter. Emily? What's wrong? Where is she? The voice went from gravel to razor wire in a heartbeat. Lucas heard engines in the background, multiple motorcycles roaring to life. She's okay. She's with me at the bus stop on Maple and 4th. She got stuck in the storm, but she's warming up now. Who did this? Not what happened, but who? Like violence was already decided, just needed a target. I don't know the whole story. She said something about her keys. Put her on. Lucas handed the receiver through the plastic wall to Emily, who took it with trembling hands. Daddy? I'm okay, I promise. Some guys from school were being jerks, but I'm fine now. She listened, then looked at Lucas with wide eyes. He gave me his jacket. Dad. He gave me his only jacket in a blizzard. Lucas couldn't hear what Graves said next, but he saw Emily's expression soften. Yeah, Lucas Reed. Dad? No, you don't have to. Okay. Okay. Love you too. She hung up, handed the phone back. He's on his way. Said to tell you. She paused, smiled a little. He said to tell you that you just made the best decision of your life, even if you don't know it yet. Lucas had no idea what that meant. He was too cold to care. His fingers were white, his lips were numb, and the wind was making his eyes water. Or maybe those were tears from the pain of the cold. You should take your jacket back, Emily said softly. Just until he gets here. You're shaking. I'm fine. You're lying. Your lips are turning blue. Still fine. Emily stood up, started to take off the jacket. Lucas stopped her. If you take that off, your core temperature drops again. Then we both freeze for nothing. He tried to smile, but his face muscles weren't cooperating. I'm tougher than I look. It was maybe the biggest lie he'd ever told. The bus stop had a posted route schedule. Next bus, 6:45 p.m. It was 4:30 now. Lucas knew he couldn't stay here. He needed to move, needed to get to the shop, needed to find warmth before his body started making executive decisions about shutting down. Your dad will be here soon. You're safe now. He started backing away. Wait. Where are you going? Home. Like I said, close by. Lucas. Emily stood up, the jacket making her look even smaller. Thank you. You saved my life. Just stay warm, Lucas said, and turned into the storm. He made it 3 blocks before his legs started to give out. The cold had moved past uncomfortable, past painful, into that dangerous territory where everything started to feel warm again. His brain knew that was bad. Paradoxical undressing, when hypothermia victims felt hot and started taking off clothes. But his body didn't care what his brain knew. 4 blocks. His hands were so numb he couldn't feel them anymore. Good. That meant they couldn't hurt. 5 blocks. Was he even walking in the right direction? The street signs were covered in snow. Everything looked the same, white and gray and blurry. 6 blocks. He couldn't remember what he was doing. Going home? Where was home? The shop. Right. The shop with the broken heater and the couch that smelled like motor oil and the sleeping bag that was never quite warm enough. 7 blocks. There was a dumpster ahead. That was good. He knew this dumpster. Which meant the shop was. Lucas's legs stopped working. He hit the ground hard, landing in a snow drift that felt soft as cotton. Comfortable, even. When had snow gotten so comfortable? He should get up. Important to keep moving. Hypothermia victims who stopped moving died. He'd learned that in his EMT training. But he was so tired. And the snow was so soft. And he'd done a good thing, hadn't he? Saved that girl. His mom would have been proud. Lucas closed his eyes, thinking about his mother's smile, about the jacket she'd given him, about the girl who would live because he'd made a simple choice. It felt like enough. The snow continued falling, gentle and relentless, slowly covering the boy in the alley like a burial shroud. Silas Gravestone had killed 12 men in his lifetime. 11 had deserved it. The 12th had been a mistake. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong reaction to a perceived threat. He'd done his time for that one, learned to control the rage that lived in his chest like a caged animal. But hearing his daughter's voice shake over the phone, hearing her say stuck in the storm, and guys from school were being jerks, made that cage rattle hard. He'd been in the clubhouse when the call came, going over the books with his VP, Chains. The second Emily's number flashed on his screen. Early, which meant wrong. He'd answered. Then came the boy's voice. Young, scared, but trying to sound calm. She's okay. She's with me at the bus stop. That's when Grave had known something was very wrong. His daughter didn't need rescuing. He'd raised her to handle herself, taught her every trick he knew. If she was with some boy at a bus stop instead of her normal pickup point, someone had fucked up badly. Mount up, he told the brothers, 30 seconds into the call. No explanations needed. When the president said move, you moved. 50 bikes fired up in perfect synchronization. The Iron Reapers didn't do anything small. Now, 10 minutes later, Graves Road King led the formation down Maple Street, like a mechanical cavalry charge. The storm didn't matter. The snow didn't matter. His daughter needed him, and God himself couldn't stop this train. They found her huddled in the bus stop shelter, wrapped in an oversized jacket that had seen better days, better years, even. The sight of his baby girl shivering on a plastic bench, alone, in cheerleading clothes during a blizzard, made something primitive and violent wake up in Graves' chest. He was off his bike before it fully stopped, striding toward her with that ground-eating walk that made grown men step aside. Daddy! Emily launched herself at him, and for a moment she was 5 years old again, scraped knee from falling off her bike, needing her father to make it better. Grave held her, feeling how cold she was even through the jacket. Who did this? It's okay, I'm fine. Who did this? She pulled back, and he saw his own eyes looking back at him. That Stone family steel that bent but never broke. Troy Henderson and his friends. They took my phone, threw my keys in the snow, left me in the parking lot. Grave memorized the name. Troy Henderson. Age, probably 17 or 18. Crime, assault, attempted manslaughter. Sentence, to be determined. Where's the boy? Lucas. He looked around the empty street. He left. Said he lived nearby. Emily's face crumpled. Dad. He gave me his jacket. In a blizzard. He was just wearing a t-shirt, and he gave me his jacket. That's when Grave really looked at the coat his daughter was wearing. It wasn't just worn. It was held together by patches and prayers. The zipper was broken. One of the pockets had been stitched closed with what looked like dental floss. But it was warm, thick with some kind of synthetic fill, and it still held the heat of whoever had been wearing it. This wasn't some spare jacket. This was someone's only jacket. He said he lived close by? Graves' voice was soft now, the kind of soft that made his brothers nervous because it meant the president was thinking. That's what he said, but... Emily bit her lip. Dad, I don't think he was telling the truth. He's Lucas Reed. He's in my English class. He always sits alone at lunch. Always wears the same 3 shirts. I don't think he has a home to go to. Grave looked at the jacket again. Touched the fabric. Quality, once upon a time. Down fill, meant for serious cold. But old, worn thin in places, patched with mismatched fabric like whoever wore it couldn't afford to replace it, but couldn't afford to lose it either. This boy had given his daughter his only protection against the storm, and then walked away into that storm wearing nothing. Chains, Grave called out. His VP appeared at his shoulder immediately. Get road captain. I want every prospect, every brother who's not working, every hang-around who wants to patch in someday. Tell them we're looking for a kid, 16 or 17, dark hair, skinny. Last seen wearing a band t-shirt walking away from this location 10 minutes ago. On it, Prez. Chains pulled out his phone, already barking orders. Grave turned back to Emily, took off his own leather jacket, the one with President patched across the back, the one worth more than most people's cars, and draped it over the jacket she already wore. Get on my bike. You're going home. What about Lucas? We're going to find him. Graves' voice was steel-wrapped in silk. And then we're going to have a talk with Troy Henderson and anyone else who thought this shit was funny. One of the prospects, Rookie, a kid barely 20 who'd been trying to patch in for 6 months, jogged up. Prez, I got the school's security office on the phone. They're still reviewing footage, but they confirmed a kid matching that description left on foot about 15 minutes ago. Which direction? East. Toward the industrial district. The industrial district. Abandoned factories, empty warehouses, places where the homeless sometimes squatted when winter got too brutal. Graves' jaw tightened. Honey. This Lucas. What's he like? Emily thought about it. Quiet. Really quiet. He sits in the back, never causes trouble. The other kids. She paused, looking guilty. They're mean to him. Call him Sparrow. Make fun of his clothes. Sparrow. Grave filed that away too. Anyone in particular? Troy's crew mostly. Derek Chun, Marcus Foster. They throw stuff at him in class, trip him in the halls. The teachers never do anything. Graves' hands curled into fists. His daughter went to school every day, walked past this kid getting bullied, lived her normal life, while some boy got tortured for being poor. And then that same boy had saved her life without hesitation. Mount up. Graves' voice carried across the formation. We're heading east. Fan out. Check every alley, every doorway. We're looking for a kid in a t-shirt. When you find him, you call me first. Nobody touches him, nobody scares him. We bring him in safe. Understood. Understood, Prez. The response came back in a roar of 50 voices. Graves settled Emily on the back of his bike, made sure she was bundled tight. Hold on, baby girl. We're going to find your hero. The Iron Reapers rolled out like thunder, splitting into search patterns that covered every street, every alley, every possible route an addled, hypothermic kid might take trying to get home. They found him 7 minutes later. Mouse, one of the newer members, called it in. Prez, got him. Alley behind the old Morrison plant. He's down. Repeat, he's down. Graves' bike ate the 3 blocks in 30 seconds. He parked, boots hitting pavement before the engine stopped. The alley was narrow, dark, piled with drifting snow. Lucas Reed was crumpled against a dumpster like someone had thrown him away, his dark hair already dusted white, his lips blue. For a terrible second, Grave thought they were too late. Then the kid's chest moved. Shallow, too slow, but breathing. Get him up. Carefully. Grave knelt in the slush, not caring about his leather pants or his reputation. This close, he could see how young Lucas really was. Just a kid, maybe 16, skinny in that way that spoke of missed meals and chronic stress. His hands were white, fingers curled with the beginning of frostbite. This boy had given everything to save Emily. Literally everything, right down to the coat off his back. Chains and Mouse lifted Lucas between them. He didn't wake up, didn't even groan. Just hung there like a broken doll. Hospital, Grave ordered. Now, Rookie, you ride ahead. Tell the ER we're coming in hot with a hypothermia case. Tell them Silas Stone is paying. And if they give you any shit about insurance or paperwork, they can discuss it with my lawyer. Boss, which hospital? Presbyterian. Best trauma center in the city. The formation reformed, this time with Lucas cradled in the sidecar of Chain's bike, wrapped in every spare jacket the brothers could provide. Grave led the charge, his own jacket now part of the pile, keeping the kid alive. As they rode, Grave made a decision. This boy had saved his daughter's life at the cost of his own warmth, his own safety, his own everything. That created a debt. And Silas Grave Stone always paid his debts. But first, there were some debts owed to him that needed collecting. Troy Henderson's name burned in Graves' mind like a brand. Lucas woke up to warmth. Not the kind of warmth he was used to, the insufficient heat of a sleeping bag, or the fleeting warmth of the diner's kitchen, but real warmth. Overwhelming, penetrating, the kind that reached all the way down to bones he'd forgotten could be warm. He tried to move and discovered he couldn't. Panic spiked. Was he paralyzed? Trapped? His eyes flew open. Hospital room. Private. from the looks of it. The walls weren't institutional green, but a soft cream color. There was actual art on the walls. A window showed the storm still raging outside, but in here it was bright and warm and safe. Lucas was buried under what felt like a dozen heated blankets, and 4 dripped clear fluid into his left arm. Monitors beeped softly, tracking vitals he didn't understand. Hey, Sleeping Beauty's awake. Lucas turned his head, slowly, everything felt slow, and saw a man sitting in the chair beside his bed. Big guy, completely bald, with eyes that could cut glass and tattoos running up his neck. He wore a leather vest with patches that Lucas's scattered brain couldn't quite process. Who? Lucas's voice came out as a croak. Name's Grave. You saved my daughter yesterday. Yesterday? Emily. The parking lot. The jacket. Lucas's hand flew to his chest. He was wearing a hospital gown. My jacket. Safe. Em's got it. Grave leaned forward, elbows on knees. Kid, you gave her your only coat in the middle of a blizzard. Then you walked away in a t-shirt. What the hell were you thinking? The way Grave said it, not angry, but genuinely baffled, made Lucas's defenses crumble. She was freezing. I wasn't. Simple math. Simple math. Grave shook his head. You damn near died. You know that. Core temp was 89 when they brought you in. Another 10 minutes, and we'd have been having a very different conversation. Lucas didn't know what to say to that. Sorry. You're welcome? He settled for, is Emily okay? She's fine. Thanks to you. Grave studied him with those cutting eyes. Doctor says you're going to keep all your fingers and toes. No permanent damage, but it was close. Real close. I don't have insurance, Lucas said automatically. I can't afford. Already paid for. I'll pay you back. I have a job at the diner. I can work out a payment plan. Kid. Grave's voice went soft again, that dangerous softness. Shut up about money. You saved my daughter's life. Far as I'm concerned, you could burn down this hospital, and I'd still be in your debt. Lucas had never been good at accepting help. Help came with strings, with expectations, with the inevitable disappointment when you couldn't meet those expectations. I should go? My boss will wonder. Your boss knows you're here. I called him. Guy named Mike. You called Big Mike? Lucas's stomach dropped. He's going to fire me. He's not firing anyone. I had a chat with him, explained the situation. You're on paid medical leave for the rest of the week. Paid? I don't get paid when I don't work. You do now? Lucas stared at this stranger who'd somehow rearranged his life in the time it took to sleep off hypothermia. Why are you doing this? Because you gave my baby girl your coat when you only had one coat to give. Grave's voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. That's the kind of thing that matters, kid. That's the kind of thing that means something. A knock at the door interrupted whatever Lucas might have said. A doctor came in, young, Indian woman with kind eyes and a tablet. Mr. Reed. Good to see you awake. I'm Dr. Patel. How are you feeling? Warm, Lucas said honestly. She smiled. That's the goal. Your core temperature is back to normal, but I want to keep you overnight for observation. Hypothermia can have delayed effects. We'll monitor your kidney function, make sure everything's working properly. I really can't afford. Already handled, Dr. Patel said, not unkindly. Mr. Stone has taken care of all expenses. Your only job is to rest and recover. After she left, Lucas turned back to Grave. I don't understand. You don't know me. I know enough. Grave pulled out his phone, showed Lucas the screen. It was Emily, wearing Lucas's ratty jacket like a trophy, giving the camera a tearful smile. The caption read, "This jacket saved my life. The boy who gave it to me is a hero." She's been telling everyone who'll listen about what you did, Graves said. Posted that on her Instagram. It's got 15,000 likes already. Lucas felt sick. She posted my jacket on social media? No, kid. She posted your character. There's a difference. Grave pocketed his phone. While you were sleeping, I did some digging. Talked to some people. Lucas Reed, age 16, mother deceased, father unknown. Living with a stepfather until 3 months ago, when said stepfather kicked you out. Currently unhoused. Working under the table at Big Mike's. Still going to school, because... He paused. Why are you still going to school? Free lunch, Lucas said quietly. And it's warm. Graves' jaw tightened. Yeah, that's what I figured. He stood up, started pacing. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to stay here tonight, get healthy. Tomorrow, you're coming home with me. What? No, I can't. Not asking, kid. I got a big house, Got about 8 empty bedrooms. You're taking one. Non-negotiable. I'm not a charity case. Damn right you're not. Graves stopped pacing, faced Lucas directly. You're the guy who saved my daughter's life. That makes you family. And family doesn't sleep in abandoned buildings during a blizzard. You don't know anything about me. I could be dangerous. I could. Could you? Graves' eyes were sharp. Are you dangerous, Lucas? You going to hurt Emily? Going to steal from me? Going to bring trouble to my door? No, but then we're good. Look, kid, I know you've been hurt. I know you don't trust easy. But here's the truth. You made a choice yesterday. You chose to help someone even when it cost you everything you had. That choice means something to me. Means something to my family. I don't want to owe anyone. Lucas said desperately. You don't owe me shit. I owe you. Big difference. Graves sat back down, and when he spoke again his voice was gentler. Let me tell you about the Iron Reapers. We're a motorcycle club. We ride together, fight together, protect our own. We got rules, got structure, got a code. And the most important part of that code is this. We take care of our brothers. I'm not your brother. Not yet. But you could be. Grave met his eyes. I'm offering you a prospect position. You finish school, keep your nose clean, learn the life. When you turn 18, if you still want in, we'll talk about patching you in proper. Lucas's head was spinning. 24 hours ago, he'd been sleeping in an abandoned building, wondering if he'd make rent on the storage unit where he kept his mom's things. Now he was in a hospital bed, being offered, what? A home? A family? I need to think about it, he managed. Fair enough. You think. But while you're thinking, you're staying in one of my spare rooms. Because the alternative is you go back to that auto shop, and I'm not watching Emily's hero freeze to death because he's too proud to accept help. How did you know about the shop? Graves' smile was grim. I know everything about this city, kid. Part of the job. Another knock. This time it was Emily, carrying a tray of coffee and what smelled like actual food. She stopped in the doorway when she saw Lucas was awake. Hi, she said shyly. Hi. Lucas tried to sit up, failed, gave up. I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad you're alive. Emily set the tray down, pulled up another chair. She was wearing normal clothes now, jeans and a sweater, but she'd kept Lucas's jacket on over everything. It looked ridiculous on her, sleeves hanging to her knees, but she wore it like armor. I was going to give that back to you, she said, touching the jacket. But Dad said I should keep it until you're better. Said it's bad luck to return a life-saving jacket before the person who gave it to you is fully recovered. Lucas looked at Grave, who shrugged. Made that up. But it sounded good, right? Despite everything. The fear, the confusion, the overwhelming strangeness of waking up to find his life completely rearranged, Lucas laughed. It hurt his chest, made the monitors beep faster, but it felt good. When was the last time he'd laughed? Keep it, he told Emily. Looks better on you anyway. Liar, she said, but she was smiling. It's got patches made from 3 different flannel shirts, and one of the pockets is sewn shut with what I think is fishing line. Dental floss, actually. They sat there, the 3 of them, while the storm raged outside and the hospital hummed its quiet rhythm of healing. Grave told Emily to give Lucas some space, but she insisted on staying, said she had homework to do anyway. Lucas watched her pull out her English textbook, same class they shared, and thought about how weird life was. Yesterday, he'd been invisible. Today he was what? A hero? A prospect? A kid in a hospital bed who'd somehow stumbled into a family that rode motorcycles and scared doctors into not asking about insurance? Hey, Lucas. Emily looked up from her homework. Yeah. That English paper we're supposed to write. About sacrifice and redemption in The Great Gatsby. What about it? I think I finally understand it. She smiled at him, and it was the kind of smile that made the warmth in the room feel like more than just heated blankets. Thank you. For everything. Lucas didn't know what to say to that. So he just nodded, pulled the blankets tighter, and for the first time in 3 months, let himself feel safe. Troy Henderson was having the best Monday of his life. The story had spread over the weekend. How he'd left Emily Stone stranded in the blizzard, how she'd barely survived, how some loser had given her his coat. The way Troy told it, though, the story was different. Emily had been dramatic, overreacting to a harmless prank. The coat thing was probably made up for sympathy. By Monday morning, half the school thought Troy was hilarious and the other half was too scared to disagree. He was holding court in the cafeteria, His crew arranged around him like courtiers when he saw Lucas Reed walk in. The sparrow looked like death warmed over. Pale, shaky, moving like every step hurt. But he was there, probably because he needed the free lunch, and that made him pathetic. "Hey, Sparrow," Troy called out. The cafeteria went quiet. "Where's your coat, man? Finally sell it for drug money." Lucas didn't respond, just got in the lunch line with his head down. "I'm talking to you, homeless." Troy stood up, his crew following. "You steal Emily Stone's jacket? That what happened? Creep like you probably sniffed it all weekend." Some people laughed. Not many. There was a weird tension in the air, but enough to feed Troy's ego. "Leave him alone, Troy." Sarah Martinez, Emily's best friend, stood up from her table. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Oh yeah? Enlighten me, Sarah. Tell me how Sparrow here is actually a hero instead of a coat-stealing creep." "He gave Emily his jacket," Sarah said quietly, "in the middle of the blizzard. After you left her to freeze to death. He saved her life, Troy, and you're making fun of him for it." The cafeteria was dead silent now. Troy felt something cold settle in his stomach. "That's bullshit. Emily was fine. Her dad picked her up after she nearly died of hypothermia. After Lucas gave her his only coat and nearly died himself." Sarah's voice was shaking with anger. "He's a hero, Troy, and you're—" Whatever Sarah was going to say was drowned out by a sound that made the entire cafeteria freeze. Motorcycles. Not one or two, but what sounded like an army of them, their engines roaring in perfect synchronization. The building itself seemed to vibrate with the noise. Troy moved to the window. So did everyone else. The school's front lot was filling up with motorcycles, huge, gleaming Harleys ridden by men who looked like they ate nails for breakfast. Leather vests, chains, enough tattoos to qualify as full-body armor. They parked in perfect formation, kickstands down in unison like a military drill. 50 bikes, 50 riders. At the front, a completely bald man on a massive Road King. He swung off his bike with the kind of confidence that made Troy's knees weak and started walking toward the school's front entrance. "Who the hell is that?" Derek whispered. "I don't know, but we should." The front doors opened. The bald man walked in like he owned the place, 30 of his crew behind him. The hall monitor, Mr. Peterson, ex-military, didn't take shit from anyone, stepped forward. "Sir, you can't." The bald man looked at him. Just looked. Mr. Peterson stepped aside. Principal Watkins came running out of his office, face red, already in bureaucratic outrage mode. "Excuse me, you can't just. There are procedures. I'm Silas Stone." The bald man's voice carried through the hallway like a pronouncement. "I'm here for two things. First, I want to talk to the principal about updating your cold weather emergency protocols, since apparently you let students get stranded in blizzards." Watkins paled. "I assure you, we have very comprehensive." "Second," Grave continued, pulling something from his jacket, "I'm looking for the owner of this." He held up Lucas's jacket, the ratty, patched, obviously well-loved jacket, like it was the Holy Grail. The cafeteria doors opened. Every student had crowded to watch the show. "This jacket," Grave said, his voice carrying to every corner, "saved my daughter's life on Friday. Some piece of shit left her in a parking lot during a blizzard. This jacket, and the boy who gave it to her, kept her alive until I could get there." Troy's blood ran cold. Emily Stone, daughter. This biker gang leader was Emily's father. "So I'm asking one more time," Grave said softly, dangerously. "Whose jacket is this?" Silence. Nobody moved. Then, from the cafeteria doorway, a small voice. "It's mine." Lucas Reed stepped forward, looking like he might pass out. His friends. Did Sparrow even have friends? Tried to stop him, but he kept walking. Grave turned, and his expression transformed. The dangerous hardness melted into something gentle, almost paternal. "Lucas Reed." He crossed the distance in 3 strides. "Yes, sir." Lucas looked tiny next to Grave, pale and shaking, but standing his ground. "My daughter told me what you did." Grave's voice was quiet now, meant for Lucas, but carrying anyway. "She told me you gave her this jacket, walked away with nothing, nearly died, keeping her warm." "She was cold," Lucas said simply. "I had a jacket." Math was easy. Grave smiled. It was terrifying and beautiful at the same time. "Yeah, that's what she said you'd say." Then he did something that made the entire school gasp. Grave took off his own jacket, the leather vest with President across the back, the one marked with patches that meant something in a world most of these kids didn't understand, and draped it over Lucas's shoulders. "This is my jacket," Graves said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Worth about $3,000. Custom leather, hand-tooled patches. I've worn it for 15 years. He adjusted it on Lucas's frame. It was huge on the kid, but somehow it looked right. "Anyone who fucks with this boy," Grave continued, his voice dropping to something deadly, "fucks with me. Anyone who touches him answers to the Iron Reapers. Anyone who even looks at him wrong will learn what it means to have an MC on their ass." He turned, addressing the whole school. "Lucas Reed saved my daughter's life. That makes him family. And we protect our family." Graves' eyes swept the crowd and landed on Troy. Held there. Troy felt his bladder threaten to give out. "You," Grave pointed. "Troy Henderson, right?" Troy couldn't speak. Could only nod. "You left my daughter in a parking lot. Took her phone, threw her keys in the snow, drove away while she was wearing a cheerleader uniform in a blizzard." Graves' voice was conversational, which made it worse. "That's attempted manslaughter in my book. Maybe even attempted murder. I didn't know. I didn't mean. You didn't think. Big difference." Grave walked toward Troy slowly. The crowd parted like he was Moses and they were the Red Sea. "See, I got a problem. My daughter doesn't want me handling this. Says she wants to let the school deal with it. But I'm not really a let the school deal with it kind of guy. I'm more of a make sure this never happens again type." Troy backed up until he hit the wall. "Please, I'm sorry, I'll." "Shut up." Grave didn't raise his voice. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to apologize to Emily. Real apology, in front of the whole school. Then you're going to write her a check for whatever her medical bills were. Then you're going to do 100 hours of community service at the homeless shelter. Your dad's a lawyer, I know. Marcus Henderson, family law, big office downtown. I already talked to him. He agrees this is fair, considering the alternative is me pressing charges and making sure this sticks to your record forever." Grave leaned in close. "Your dad's scared of me, kid. You should be too." Troy nodded frantically. "Good." Grave straightened. "Oh, and one more thing. That BMW you drive? The one you used to strand my daughter? What about it?" Grave pulled out his phone, showed Troy a photo. It was Troy's car, or what used to be Troy's car, now a cube of compressed metal at a junkyard. Impounded for illegal parking. Then crushed for unpaid tickets. Grave's smile was pure evil. Funny how 20 parking tickets from the last year suddenly showed up in the system. Funnier how the impound lot doesn't take credit cards. Cash only. And the fees went up to exactly what your car was worth. Bureaucracy's a bitch, ain't it? Troy stared at the photo. His car. His beautiful, brand new BMW. Gone. You can't. That's not legal. Neither was leaving a girl to freeze to death. But here we are. Grave pocketed his phone. "Learn something from this, Henderson. Learn that actions have consequences. Learn that the world's got people in it who'll make you pay for being a piece of shit." He turned back to Lucas, who was still standing there in shock, swimming in the huge leather vest. "You ready to go, kid? Emily's waiting outside. Made me promise to bring you home safe." Lucas looked around the cafeteria, at the students who'd ignored him, the teachers who'd let him be bullied, the school that had never protected him. Then he looked at Grave, at the brothers standing behind him, at the jacket on his shoulders that meant family and protection and belonging. "Yeah," Lucas said quietly. "I'm ready." They walked out together, the Iron Reapers forming an honor guard around Lucas. The whole school watched through the windows as Lucas climbed on the back of Graves' bike, still wearing that president's jacket, and roared away with 50 motorcycles following. Troy Henderson slid down the wall and sat on the floor, his empire of bullying and popularity shattered around him like broken glass. In the cafeteria, Sarah Martinez started a slow clap. It built, spreading through the crowd until the whole school was applauding. Not for Troy. For the invisible boy who'd become a hero. For Lucas Reed, who'd given everything and gained a family in return. For the kid who'd never be invisible again. 3 months later, Lucas Reed stood in front of a mirror, barely recognizing himself. The gaunt, hunted look was gone. He'd gained 20 pounds of healthy weight. Turned out regular meals did that. His hair was cut properly, not with kitchen scissors in a gas station bathroom. He wore clothes that fit, jeans and a leather jacket that Chains had given him, worn enough to be comfortable but maintained enough to show respect. But the biggest change was his eyes. They'd lost that constant vigilance, that expectation of the next blow. He looked like a kid again. A kid who might actually have a future. You clean up nice, Sparrow. Emily appeared in the doorway of his actual room, in Graves' actual house, with an actual bed and everything. She'd kept the nickname, but when she said it, it sounded like a term of endearment instead of an insult. Still feels weird, Lucas admitted, tugging at the jacket. Like I'm playing dress up. You're not. You're one of us now. Emily came in, flopped on his bed like she owned the place. She did that now, treated him like the brother she'd never had. It still made Lucas's chest tight with something that felt like happiness. Dad says you're officially prospecting for the club next month when you turn 17. If I want to. Lucas sat beside her. I haven't decided yet. What's to decide? You've been living here, learning the life, helping with club business. Emily poked his shoulder. You're already a reaper in everything but the patch. Lucas thought about the last 3 months. Living with Grave, which felt less like living with an MC president and more like having the world's most overprotective uncle. Meeting the brothers, learning their stories, understanding that beneath the leather and the ink were men who'd chosen family over biology, loyalty over law. He'd been scared at first, waited for the catch, for the moment when Grave would reveal what he really wanted in exchange for the room and the food and the safety. But the catch never came. Instead, he got homework help from Mouse, who had a degree in engineering he never talked about. Got driving lessons from Chains, who was surprisingly patient for a man named after a weapon. Got cooking tips from Wrench, the club's road captain, who'd worked as a chef before joining the Reapers. He got Emily, who'd appointed herself his sister and took the job seriously, dragging him to movies and introducing him to her friends and treating him like he mattered. He got Grave, who showed up to Lucas's parent-teacher conferences, who helped with college applications, who sat with him on bad nights when the memories of his mother got too heavy. He got a family. Earth to Lucas. Emily waved her hand in front of his face. You okay? Yeah, just thinking. Lucas smiled. About how 3 months ago I was sleeping in an auto shop, and now I'm going to my first MC party. Oh, it's not a party. It's a family barbecue. Emily stood up, pulled him to his feet. Big difference. At a party, people get drunk and stupid. At a family barbecue, people get drunk and tell embarrassing stories about each other while burgers burn on the grill. They headed downstairs, where the backyard was already filling up with Reapers and their families. Kids ran around screaming. Old ladies sat in lawn chairs gossiping. And someone had set up a volleyball net that was seeing more use as a climbing structure. This was what Lucas had never understood about motorcycle clubs. They weren't just gangs. They were communities. Families built from choice instead of blood, held together by loyalty and shared code. Lucas, Grave waved him over to the grill, where he was managing about 100 burgers with Chains. Come here, I want you to meet someone. Lucas walked over, Emily trailing behind. This is my dad, Marcus. Grave nodded toward an old man in a wheelchair, weathered as old leather, eyes still sharp. Pop, this is Lucas. The kid I told you about. Marcus looked Lucas up and down with the assessing gaze of someone who'd seen everything. The coat kid. Heard a lot about you, boy. Sir. Lucas wasn't sure what else to say. My son says you gave away your only jacket to save a stranger. That true. She wasn't really a stranger. We had English class together. Marcus laughed, a sound like gravel shifting. Kid, Emily tells me you'd never spoken before that day. You didn't even know her last name. She was a stranger. He leaned forward in his chair. You know what that makes you? Lucas shook his head. Either really stupid or really brave. Maybe both. Marcus grinned. Either way, you're gonna fit right in here. The Iron Reapers got a long history of doing stupid brave shit. Over the next hour, Lucas met what felt like 100 people, all of them treating him like he belonged. Old ladies, the term for the wives and girlfriends, which still made Lucas uncomfortable because some of them were barely 30, fussed over how thin he was and loaded his plate. Prospects, guys like him, trying to earn their patches, asked him for advice on dealing with Graves' impossible standards. Even the patched members, the full brothers, treated him with respect that Lucas hadn't earned. Or had he? You thinking too hard again, Emily observed, appearing with 2 sodas. I can see the smoke coming out of your ears. Just wondering why everyone's so nice to me. I'm nobody. Lucas. Emily sat him down at a picnic table, away from the crowd. You saved my life. But more than that, you showed my dad something he needed to see. What's that? That there's still good people in the world. People who'll do the right thing even when it costs them everything. She took his hand, squeezed it. Dad told me about your mom. About your stepdad. About how you'd been living in that shop for months, and nobody at school knew. Nobody cared. Lucas looked away. It's fine. I was fine. You were dying, Lucas. Maybe not fast, but dying. And you still gave away the one thing keeping you alive to help a girl you didn't even know. Emily's voice got thick. That's not fine. That's heroic. And Dad spent his whole life around guys who talk big about loyalty and brotherhood. But when push comes to shove, most people look out for themselves first. That's just survival. No, that's being normal. What you did wasn't normal. It was extraordinary. And Dad recognized that. Emily wiped her eyes, laughed. Sorry, I'm being emotional. But you need to understand, you're not here because Dad feels sorry for you. You're here because you earned it. You proved you're the kind of man the Iron Reapers need. Lucas thought about that. About the code. About the choice. About how easy it would have been to walk past Emily that day. To tell himself it wasn't his problem, that he had his own survival to worry about. Hey, Sparrow, Wrench called from the grill. You any good at volleyball? Never played. Perfect. You're on my team. We're getting destroyed by the prospects, and I need someone who's not afraid to get hit in the face. Lucas found himself pulled into a chaotic volleyball game where the rules seemed optional and the trash talk was mandatory. He was terrible, missed every serve, got spiked in the head twice. But people laughed with him, not at him. Clapped him on the back when he made a lucky point. Treated him like he belonged. Later, as the sun set and someone started a bonfire, Grave found Lucas sitting alone, watching the flames. You doing okay, kid? Lucas nodded. Yeah, just processing, I guess. Grave sat beside him, handed him a soda. I know it's a lot. Going from alone to this. He gestured at the 50 people laughing and drinking and being family. It's an adjustment. I keep waiting for the catch, Lucas admitted. For the moment when you tell me what you really want. I want you to finish school. Get into college if that's your path. Learn a trade if it's not. Grave took a long drink. I want you to be safe, fed, warm. I want you to have the childhood you should have had instead of the one you got. Why? Because you saved my daughter's life. Because you're a good kid who got dealt a shit hand. Because I can. Grave looked at Lucas directly. You keep asking why like there's gotta be an angle. Sometimes there's not. Sometimes people just do good shit because it's right. Like me giving Emily the jacket. Exactly like that. Grave smiled. You see what I did there? You prove my point. Lucas laughed despite himself. You're a manipulative old man. I'm a strategic thinker. Big difference. Grave stood up, offered Lucas his hand. Come on. They're about to bring out the cake. Cake? What are we celebrating? You kid. 3 months since you joined the family. Figured that was worth celebrating. The cake was huge, chocolate with vanilla frosting, and said, Welcome home, Sparrow, in blue icing. Lucas stared at it, at these people who barely knew him throwing him a party, and felt something crack open in his chest. He'd spent so long being nobody, being invisible, being alone. And now he had this loud, chaotic, loving family who'd claimed him as their own. When they sang, off-key and enthusiastic, Lucas cried. Emily hugged him. Grave clapped him on the shoulder. The brothers cheered. And for the first time since his mother died, Lucas Reed felt like he was home. Lucas adjusted his leather vest, his own vest now, earned through 3 years of prospecting, of proving himself, of becoming a man instead of a scared kid, and looked at himself in the mirror. Iron Reapers across the back. Sparrow on the front. Hard-earned patches marking his journey. The coat patch Emily had designed, showing a jacket with wings. The California bottom rocker. The brother patch that meant he was fully patched in, a full member of the club. He was 19 now, in his second year at community college studying engineering. Still lived at Graves' house, but paid rent now, insisted on it. Still had dinner with Emily every Sunday. Still worked part-time at the shop the club owned, learning mechanics from Rich. His mother's jacket, the one that started everything, hung in a frame in Graves' office, a reminder of the moment everything changed. You ready? Emily appeared in the doorway, wearing a dress that would make Grave have a heart attack. She was 17 now, planning to study law, already scaring the club's actual lawyer with her arguments. Ready for what? Troy Henderson's sentencing. Remember? You said you'd come with me to court. Lucas had almost forgotten. Troy, who'd gotten arrested 6 months ago for drunk driving, who'd violated probation, who'd finally pushed his luck too far, was facing actual jail time. You sure you want to go? Yeah, I want him to see us. Emily linked her arm through his. I want him to see that we're fine. Better than fine. That his bullshit didn't break us. They rode to the courthouse on Lucas's bike, his first bike, a used Sportster that Grave had helped him rebuild. The courthouse was downtown, all marble and justice. Troy was there with his lawyer dad, looking smaller than Lucas remembered. 3 years of consequences had worn him down. The community service, the destroyed reputation, the DUI arrest. He looked up when Lucas and Emily walked in, and something like recognition flickered across his face. The sentencing was quick. The judge was not impressed with Troy's excuses or his father's expensive words. 6 months in county, 2 years probation after. As they filed out, Troy caught up to them in the hallway. Emily. Lucas. He looked nervous, defeated. I wanted to say I'm sorry. For all of it. The parking lot, the bullying, everything. Lucas looked at the boy who'd made his life hell, who'd almost killed Emily, who'd learned too late that actions had consequences. Apology noted, Lucas said simply. He didn't say accepted, because he wasn't sure he'd gotten there yet. But he'd gotten to noted, which was progress. You were right, Troy said quietly, looking at Lucas. That day, when you gave her your coat, you said it was simple math. She needed it more. He laughed bitterly. I spent 3 years doing math. Calculating what you gave up, what I threw away. Math's not simple at all. No, Lucas agreed. But the choice was. They left Troy there in the courthouse hallway, left him to his 6 months and his regrets. Walked out into the sunshine together, Emily's arm still linked through his. You okay? Emily asked. Yeah, I'm good. And he was. The anger he'd carried for so long had faded into something gentler. Not forgiveness exactly, but release. Troy Henderson didn't matter anymore. His opinion, his cruelty, his existence, none of it mattered. What mattered was the family waiting at home. The brothers who'd become his brothers. The father figure who'd taught him what protection looked like. The sister who'd claimed him and never let go. What mattered was the coat he'd given away, an act of simple kindness that had changed everything. Ice cream, Emily suggested. I'm buying. You're always buying. Because I'm rich and you're a broke college student. Economics, Sparrow. Simple math. Lucas laughed, started his bike, and followed Emily toward the ice cream shop, toward home, toward the future he'd earned one choice at a time. Behind him, the courthouse held Troy Henderson and his consequences. Ahead of him, the Iron Reapers, his family, waited. The choice of which direction to ride was the simplest math of all.